Diane for U.S. Senate.
Hi, thanks. I trust everyone can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay, good. So we have an enormous job to do, and it's not about an election. How many people here are familiar with the story of Plato's cave? Okay, so you remember, just a refresher, everybody's stuck in this cave and their heads are riveted facing one direction, and there's light from behind, and behind them is a road with people walking on it. But everyone in the cave just sees these shadows going through each other. And they have a very peculiar idea about the world, because what they're looking at are flat shadows with no form, no expression. I imagine, I don't think he specifies, but I don't think they're able to really, they don't talk to each other too much. They're just there watching this odd display. So somebody gets out of the cave, goes out, is blinded. The first thing is they're blinded by the sunlight. And then they see that the world is not a bunch of black, flat things passing through each other. But there are many shapes. They actually can't pass through each other. You have to walk around someone if you're about to run into them, or you can bump into them, but you're not going to go through them, certainly. And that person comes back to try to explain to the people who never witnessed reality what the real world is. And we are in that moment. And so my campaign is not about spectators. I don't need people to cheer for me. We don't need, that is not going to do it. Because what you have is an entirely new paradigm coming into existence, where billions of people have picked up the attitude like the black population in Montgomery, Alabama, when they decided they were not going to get on segregated buses anymore. And they didn't care if it meant they were walking through snow and ice and sludge, and they did that for an entire year. The Montgomery bus boycott went on for a year, over a year. And even though Montgomery is not like Buffalo, where I was recently visiting, it can be pretty miserable in the winter. They do get a little snow. And what the city of Montgomery did is they made everything illegal. So the first thing that happened was the black taxi drivers said, well, we'll lower our rates so you don't have to take the bus. You can take a taxi and you can get to work. And before too long, the city council made that illegal. And then what they said, and I actually had a dear friend down there, his name was John King. He worked for the U.S. Postal Service, because the postal workers knew every street like the back of their hand. So the black postal workers got together and mapped out carpool routes. So they were carpooling along, but then pretty soon the city council caught on to that and they made that illegal. And it was one roadblock after the next, one hardship after the next. Then the white women, the Southern Belles, discovered that they could not get their day done without their help. So the white women began picking up their help and driving them around and helping to keep things moving. And it was very difficult. There were very difficult incidents and scenes along the way with attempts to really provoke people to respond violently. But Martin Luther King was very committed that no one could succumb to violence and no one could lose their temper. Because the point about losing your temper, the point about rage, has anyone in this room ever been enraged? blind rage. Why do they say that? Because when you're enraged, you do not think straight. And whenever you're thinking of doing harm to another human being, you are not thinking straight. So that is why Martin Luther King had to work with people, and they had to do exercises, and they had to do drills to practice never losing their temper, never succumbing to that mindset known as rage, because you wouldn't be able to think straight. And you can just think of an example. Supposing that my friend Madeline here in the front did something horrible that I didn't like, and I came to this meeting. Well, she's probably not affected by it, but my mind is like, oh, right? And nothing comes out right. And then someone asks an innocent question, and I say, are you kidding me, right? That's never happened to anyone here, probably besides me. But so the point is, this was a whole group of people in a whole city who went through over a year and got themselves completely as under control in a dignified way and would not react to anything thrown at them, including horrible things.